Good afternoon. Happy Savage Saturday. Keepers of the Cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here. We're here with Savage Saturday, episode 156. And today we're going to do a story from Dark Horse. I don't think we've really done a lot with the Dark Horse Conan. So we're going to do issue number 6. Beautiful Joseph Michael Lisner cover. This one's just absolutely gorgeous. And I love the colors on it. Just everything about this cover is striking. Really beautiful. Well done. All right, so we're going to have a Kurt Busiek. I'm sorry, did I say Kurt Busiek? Kerry Nord pencils on the inside. Joseph Michael Lisner cover. Kurt Busiek story. So a lot of great creators working on this one issue. And as you can see, we have issue number 1 over here, signed by Kurt Busiek, and of course a Joseph Michael Lisner cover. But this is a fun one. This is a tale of Conan's youth. And every once in a while I like to visit one of those tales. This is like him just starting out. Conan's still learning things in the world. Everything's not a win. Everything's not a decided entity. There's all sorts of things being thrown at him. And this is Conan on the go, learning as he goes, and having highs, having lows, and it's just good storytelling with people that understand who Conan is. All right, so we have, of course, the scripter, Kurt Busiek, and, of course, the artist, Kerry Nord, with Thomas Yeats. And the color artist is Dave Stewart. And letters are Richard Starkings and Comic Craft. And the cover artist, of course, Joseph Michael Lisner. And we're going to get right to it. So as the story begins, we got Conan screaming in battle, some blood flying in the air, blood on his face. He's like, "Act them, men of Asgard. Act them, free warriors." And then we get into descriptive text. The battle had gone well at first. And then we get the title, Day of Farewell. So, great opening panel. Conan in the middle of his battle red haze and fighting. Again, you can see it's a younger Conan. And then as we turn the page, we get a 2-page spread, which is really nice. And it says, the Aesir, only newly awakened from the noxious potions that had made them docile slaves, were outnumbered by the forces of Hyboria. But the narrow stone streets of the city prevented its defenders from bringing their full strength to bear. And then you got Conan screaming before more text. It says, show them the price of chaining free men. Carve a gore-spottered path to their gates, a path edged with their fallen bodies. And then, as Conan's got one guy gripped by the neck and his sword is red from just killing another one, the descriptive text continues and it says, and the pent-up fury of the Northmen at their enslavement did the rest. And ever in the forefront was Conan, who traveled with their band only briefly, but who freed their minds from their yellow haze, and who now accounted for as many fallen foes as any 3 Aesir combined. And then you got Conan finishing what he's saying, and let the gutters run red with their blood. And then you have one of the Aesir going, ha, they depend too much on their walls, friend Conan. And then we get that nice double-page spread I was talking about. So there we go. All right, so a fast start to this one. More bloodshed on the next page as we continue. And you got one of the Aesir talking to Conan. It says, too long have they held their enemies at bay with their defenses, or been the attackers elsewhere. They're unprepared to fight a defensive battle on their home ground, and they fall like hogs at slaughter day. To which Conan replies, yes, Njord. And they, wait, where is Iasmini? And we go back to descriptive text as Conan's eyes alert, and it says, they had planned for this turn of events. They have been thoughtful, calculating. The next panel down shows Conan and a woman laying in a bed having a conversation. And she says, here, the leaf you need to free your friends. Crumble it and put it into their food. But in such doses, I cannot say how swiftly it will work. And Conan says, and once we are freed, things will happen quickly. And she says, you will hear the commotion. He says, you will hear the commotion, Iasmini. Of that I am certain. When you do, slip away and meet me at the stair with the statue of the great fish. And Ayasmini says, the dolphin stares. Yes, I'll be there, Conan, and ready. Just let it happen swiftly. And then we go another panel down to Niord speaking. He says, go, Conan, and find her. For what you've told me of her, I owe her a kiss of thanks. And by Adhamla's Doug's, man, I'm not giving it to you to deliver. So swearing by some god of the Aesir. Then we get to the next page where Conan's on the run, approaching these giant steps. We have our descriptive text, and it says, perhaps she was merely delayed, the young Sumerian thought. Perhaps she was attending her lord and could not quickly slip away. Or soldiers in the streets slowed her passage. It did not matter. It did not matter. He would not leave his comrades behind, and he would not leave her either. They would travel together to Turan and her family, and perhaps beyond, perhaps far beyond. The world lay before them, just as soon as they passed these gates. And Niord and his men, and Conan's smiling, his sword's red with blood. He looks behind him, and he can hear the sounds of battle and some soldiers screaming, spread out, men, take the guardsmen, and bar the entrances to the plaza. We could hold these archways for days if needed, but we'll have these gates open in no time. All right, so there we go. So Conan's making his way to Ayasmini to make sure she's okay. As the Aesir continue to fight inside to the palace. And Conan's going up the steps, and it says, he turned to climb further, but something caught his eye. A flicker of movement, a shadow. No, there was a rustle of cloth, and then he sees all these priests floating in the air, and they have these diamond-shaped crystals with them. And they're saying, surround the courtyard under mages. They have no bows. We need not take cover. Surround the courtyard, and you see all these shafts of light going down and hurting the Aesir and just pummeling them. And you don't know what the beams are, but it's certainly laying waste to the battlefront before them. And you see them all grumbling and falling down, and they're falling dead. And Conan's seeing the slaughter from the steps where he's at. He's like, Crom's teeth, no, they can't all. And all of a sudden he hears, ho, rebel. And he goes, huh? And he turns around on the steps, and there's a pair of guards behind him. And one of the guards says, you're right, Skull. One of them fled up here, as if there could be a way out above the gates. And the guard replies, no matter above or below, he'll die just as surely. As they draw their swords and run at Conan. So all of a sudden the battle is not going the way that Conan envisioned it. These undermages have showed up, and they're just wreaking havoc on the Aesir army and decimating them to a man. So as our story continues, the one guard swings at Conan and goes, and then Conan just opens him up with one swing. And this guy's dead over the thing. And the other guard's caught off guard's like, what? And Conan says, perhaps I'll not die as easily as all that, eh, brother? And the guard says, you miserable cur, as he runs at him. And the scripted text says, there was no room to dodge on the narrow stair. And Conan's assailant attacked from higher ground. Conan did the only thing he could, bracing himself. So there we go. There's that page. And a nice ad for Alien vs. Predator, Requiem from back in the day. Oh, I'm sorry. Just Alien vs. Predator, the first one. All right. And then as the guard's running at Conan, he lifts up the sword and it runs the guard through. And you hear the guard just a dying breath out. And it says, and bringing his sword, point up. But the soldier's weight was too great. Even dead, he hit Conan like a charging bear. And you see Conan and the soldier fall over the edge of the great stairs. And they take quite a long fall. So things are starting to look a little dire now for Conan. They're already dire for the Aesir. And he still hasn't found Ayasmini. So, and then our descriptive text continues. And darkness swallowed the world. How long he lay as one dead, he did not know. But in time, senses returned. None had found him. The two soldiers who'd attacked, they had both died, and no one else must have seen. There was no one to raise an alarm. Something had awakened him. Some sound or movement. He did not know what it had been. Ayasmini, Niord, and the others where were they? And then also you hear Tarant, and he's like, what? And he yells out again, Ayasmini, Niord. And the scripted text says, horns. It was a call to assemble. That was what had awakened him. The call for one of their damned days of farewell. And then you see Conan making his way through the streets towards the ceremonial sounds. It says, now it echoed and repeated, as the heralds continued the call. How long had he been unconscious? Had they begun? He heard it then, the rhythmic shuffle of the hundreds of feet, the procession, the Hyborian lord and all his house, his retainers, his slaves, the other lord's house lined with the walls, standing mute as he had once. And Conan's pushing his way through. He's like, damn you, move, I've got to. And then Conan's leaping a wall, and he says, no further, release them from your grip, or I swear by Crom and Emir, by gods and theirs, by my gods and theirs, I swear I'll. And you see Conan showing up to present himself before this procession. So a lot is going on. And the next page is just a huge shot of Conan, like, but it's everyone in front of him. It's just overwhelming. And you see the one guy just sigh, and he's just grotesque looking. He says, this is my day, slave soldier, my day of farewell. I go to my gods to everlasting peace, and your tedious yapping will not disturb it. And he makes a gesture with his hand, and it flings Conan. And Conan cries out, and he goes, he saw nothing, but he felt the blow, all along his left side, like a casual slap from a giant hand, hurling him, bruising him, leaving him dazed and weak, unable to stand, to move. His sight blurred, his head ringing, and forward they came. And they're paying him no mind. Conan's down on the ground, and they're just walking over him. And now you can see. So Conan is just went from a day that started out winning to everything is just going wrong. On our next page, Conan's barely conscious. He's like, no, you can't stop, you. And it says, but they did not listen or could not. They simply shook free of his feeble grasp and marched on, and among them, Easmini. So everyone that's marching, this is all the Asir and Easmini. He goes, and with sudden clarity, he knew why she did not meet him at the Dolphin Stair. He had asked for more leave, and she'd given it to him. All she had. She'd left nothing for herself. She'd hoped for her own freedom would last long enough, trusted in him to save her if it did not. And these are all people just retranced, redrugged again, and they're all going to meet their doom. And the scripted text continues, and it says, she had trusted in him. With a mighty effort, he put his bruised weariness aside, and he screams out, no, Easmini. And then it's just smaller. He's like, Easmini, because he's realizing he can do nothing as he looks down. And for long moments, he watched the last of them disappear, lost in the mist that hid the chasm below. And now what they're doing under this drug thing, they're just walking off the edge into this and just falling to their final deaths in this deep chasm. And Conan is just looking over the edge, and he can't believe it. He goes, and then he turned. So you can see Conan trying to stop his friends, trying to stop Easmini, but they're all drugged, they're all under the spell, and they all walk over the edge to their deaths and just plummet to their doom. So very dire. And as Conan turns around, there's a couple guards there and an undermage, and the undermage says, take him alive. We'll want to know how he freed himself. And Conan says, may Crom's fell children devour your souls. And Conan just steps back and drops off the edge. And the two guards say, Tarim and Ehrlich, after all that cacophony, did the slave just kill himself? And you find out one of them is the Lord, and the guard says, no, my lord, look. And you see Conan scaling the rocks going down. And the guard says to the Lord, he goes, those Sumerians climbed their rocky crags as easily as monkeys in the jungles of Kush climb trees. He caught the edge of the bridge, swung to the face. Shall I have the mages kill him? And the Lord says, ha, him? No, why bother? The chasm is bottomless. He'll fall or the gods will brush him loose. He has nowhere to go. Station guards, lest he tries to come back up. And let that be an end to it. And then we go back to Conan climbing down. It says he climbed downward for what seemed like days. The sorcerous weariness left him, and he gained new strength, and then that strength faded in time. The cold mist assailed him, chilling his blood. His shoulders and arms ached. His calves cramped, but he drove himself on. Perhaps he would die here, but he would not give up. Downward he toiled, ever downward, and a smell came to him, first faint, then stronger. So as we get to that smell, which will be in the next page, but you can see the dire straits that Conan's in. He has evaded it, but to what end? Where is he going to end up? In this seemingly bottomless pit, this chasm. So as we turn, we hear a crunch, and you see Conan's foot descend down upon a skull. It says, and just as his weary mind realized he recognized it, he found his comrades, and with them, and you see all these weird insects eating them. It says, the reason the smell of rotted flesh was not stronger still. And he says, Manana and MacLear, as he's recognized with there, he's like, away from them, you foul, unnatural. And then it says, these, then, were the Hyborians' gods, the beings they prayed to, and in whose tender embraces they sought Circe's. This was their glorious reward. If so, they deserved it for eternity. And Conan is just dumbfounded that these vile creatures, these insect-like things that are just eating the corpses, are something that they're worshiping. And Conan is just descended into a bed of carnage where all his comrades are dead and being eaten away. All right, and then it says, he found his many, broken, lifeless. Her eyes are open and dull with lost hope. She had trusted in him, and now, and then you hear Conan, and by some miracle, Njord is still alive. And Conan's like, Njord, he goes, I'm sorry, Njord, I failed you. And Njord says, no, not you, lad. He goes, it was Hyborians did this. You did your best, and that is all Ymir asked of. And he's having trouble talking of any man. I thank you, and I ask, as a man, for one last boon. And we go to the scripted text as Conan's kneeling over his friend. It says, Njord asked his boon and died. Conan found flint and steel by the rotted leather pouch of a year's dead corpse. Hyperborean or slave, it did not seem to matter, and there was no lack of kindling. So there we go. We'll show you that. As we get to the next page, it says, the Northmen believed that their bodies should be burned after death, that the rising smoke formed a stairway to the realm of the gods. Perhaps it did. Perhaps their gods would welcome their spirits as fallen warriors. Perhaps they would welcome Ismani too, or see her soul safe to her own gods. He hoped so. The Hyperborean lord's body he left for the creatures. So he had nothing that he wanted to save those Hyperboreans for. So you see there, they're all afire. Conan's burning them to ash in solemn regard. And as we get to the last page, it says, he had wanted to see Hyperborea, land of legends, and he had. He had seen magic and wonder, and this was what it was used for. Slaves, monsters, death. Conan says farewell to his friends. And he goes, he found the chasm's outer wall and began to climb. They were too strong. He could not face them like this, one man against the city. He could not make them pay. Not yet, but in time he would. And in the present, there were others who had to pay. Others who had caused this. He would find them. He would find them, and they would die. And thus ends our tale. So, I thought this was a particularly well-told tale. I thought it was a good story for Conan's youth. He's learning that things don't go the way you plan them out sometimes, right? He and his army thought they had the upper hand. Things turned. He lost friends. He lost many people that he swore he was going to protect. And he's learning that not everything's always in his control. You know, he's got the fire of youth in him, but it's being tempered, and it's forming him into the man that he's going to become. And it's moments like this that give him his harder edge, but give him the wisdom that he has once he's older and grown into a man to deal with what's coming and to eventually become king. All these experiences that are piling up, all this loss, all this failure, all these things that are stealing him and testing his fierce will to become better, to become stronger, to become more focused. And just a great story. And, you know, you saw the folly of youth. You saw the downfall when you can't control your circumstances. And you still saw a survivor coming out of all that to forge forward and find a way to continue on. And you saw plans being made for vengeance, which, you know, Conan's a man of his word. Things will be kept. But that was the story for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I thought it was especially good. Of course, the art was gorgeous by Carrie Nord. The story by Kurt Busiek was great. The whole team did a wonderful job on this. Again, the cover by Joseph Michael Lisner, incredible. Love the coloring on it too. But just a fantastic all-around story and a fun one to share. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep it casual.